Hi, everybody. Just making sure we got everything together. I'm excited for you. Hope everything went good first week and you got a chance to read and everything we're talking about today in our Christian ethics. We want to see things in the way that Christ sees those things. Our biggest problems today tend to be a new attitude of how to be Christian, so to say, one of the quotations. And that's because sometimes people don't know how to act or the character, and they don't think much about having a good character. The reality is, the important part of your personality and ability to minister requires you to operate in good character, good or right standing character, as we kind of see the example of Jesus. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but what it does mean is that your motive is to be holy, to strive to be as close or like Jesus as possible. The problem with ethics, as we see it sometimes today in our society, is that we just tend to be a little bit apprehensive about afraid of how people might respond to us. So we're more concerned about the efforts other people make and rather than what we do. And I have got to tell you that the problem today we're going to have to change and get directed to is the fact that we're going to have to make sure our character runs and aligns up with Jesus's. Now, what we've seen in the past, we've seen people who we see to maybe do things in the wrong. And let's just put it this way. A lot of Christians and ministers have a tendency to be, we lay a foundation by what we preach, by what we say, by the people we're around, and people will receive an aura, if that's such a word for that, or a personality, an atmosphere that you bring into a place. So people see that. And unfortunately and fortunately, it's grabbable. Its atmosphere of expectancy is the breeding grounds of miracles, which is Pastor Parsley's quote. Most of us don't anticipate or actually look at every person we see as a potential opportunity to see grow. So we're here today to get you to a place. And this week too, I hope everything's going well. It looks like the conversations are good, but I want to make sure you're talking a little bit more. We're going to look a little bit about what God has said in the New Testament, but about the Sermon on the Mount. We're going to hear about that a little bit, talk a little bit about that. And I want you to take your time with me to read your assignments. Now, we're averaging about 56 pages. It looks like that's how it's broke down in this book. So I want you to take some time. I want you to really focus on the information, because how important it is not just so much how much information you get, but what will you do with the information you know. And here's our heart today. Most of us know somewhat of other people's lifestyle, other things that people have done. And can I be honest with you, the danger of that is when you just act it and you look like you're really just acting it, because eventually, if it's not you own it, then it isn't yours. And if it's a different personality from somebody else, you're not, and it's not inside of you. You put a mask on, then you'll take it off, and then what will happen is that you live a double life, and people have a tendency when you live a double life, there's one that's secret and one that's not. I'm a firm believer to be who you are and be transparent and vulnerable to everything that we do when we talk about ministry. Don't be afraid to try to improve yourself, but don't hold the standards about everybody else that you hold for yourself. And the reason why I say that is because most of us, we talk about the word holiness, and we believe that God wants us to be holy and to live holy and righteous before Him. But we don't demonstrate it as much as maybe we should. And I think, again, most Christians don't understand that mentality, that we have to live beyond what we have been living. And so to be holy, to walk holy, and have the power of God move inside of us, it's got to be our own experience, our own part of who we are. So when we read these books and we read these things that tell us how maybe we should act, you have to draw and you have to fit it two things. One, it's got to fit into the character you walk in. It has to fit in some of your personality. You may be not very loud. You may be one of those people that's a quiet, strong leader. You could be maybe very solid in what you believe, but to transition it, to bridge it to people. In other words, bringing it to them to let them understand it so that they can grab a hold of it, is what God's purpose for us is. And we need to make sure we're walking in the light as He is in the light, not as I am in the light or anybody else, Pastor Parsley in the light. No, walk in the light as He is in the light. That's 1 John 1, 7, 8, and 9. Those verses right there are powerful. So keep your heart today open to do great things. And as we continue on in this week, make sure you're answering the questions when you get the discussion. You need to post at least two other students. Make sure you respond to their post and communicate with them and discuss. The best way of learning is hearing from other people as well. So don't be afraid to broaden your thought process and remind yourself. If you have a disagreement, you have a disagreement, but you don't have to just be angry and you cut it off. You can't unlike somebody in this class. Please don't do that. But enjoy what they have to say and appreciate and honor their stance, even if it's different than yours. Make sure you communicate that you aren't closed-minded to where they're at, but you have to be wise. So again, if you can keep it in that light, you're practicing Christian ethics. So listen, you have a great week. We're going to continue on. I'll keep in touch with you, and we'll see God do great and wonderful things. All right? God bless you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.